There we go. Okay.
Our lips are sealed.
Yes.
Yes.
I appreciate the discretion. Not like that isn't a poorly kept secret at work. Baseball nut. So.
Hey, just tradition. I remember singing World Series time with the transistor radio, sitting at my desk, holding my hand like this. So, the teacher never knew I had a transistor radio there.
Of course not. Just a terrible earache.
Mazeroski's home run. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I remember when that and some other things happened, and you'd look around the room, and guys, you'd hear these little sounds, people like sucking in their breath, and you look around. Oh, it's not just me.
Well, yeah. Kent, the thing about it is, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so we were screaming.
Oh, I bet.
The nuns at the school I went to let us listen to the World Series while we're.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they were, because they were completely nuts too. It was like the theme song for that year was "The Bucks Are Going All the Way," and
I remember
nobody in Pittsburgh ever doubted them. What's that?
I remember being home.
Yep.
When the arrow struck me through the heart. I don't know whether my parents let me off for Game 7 or what, but I remember I was watching it at home.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't. I was walking home with a transistor radio when Mazeroski hit that home run, because we walked to school, and it was like the guys I was with just jumped and screamed, and it was wonderful. I know it wasn't wonderful for the Yankees, and I think Mantle said he cried on a plane ride home because he thought that the best team lost. He could be right.
Yeah, he was right. It was like 182 runs to 7
That's
in
right.
that series.
I know. Yeah, it was crazy. Run differential, and it was.
Well,
I'm sure there were never been another World Series where it was that big a difference for the winner.
No.
Being
it was like it kind of reminded me of the Vietnamese general when he met the American general in negotiations, and the American general said, we never lost a single battle. And the Vietnam general said, and what's your point? It's irrelevant. We lost the war. So, anyway, I don't know if that's just
not a great analogy.
Anyway, the Pirates did it.
Cool. Yeah. I've been enjoying this playoff run, and I'm looking forward to seeing a very interesting World Series, complete with some fans, as I understand it. I don't know
Is that right?
specifics, but
Really?
they are they are selling tickets for a limited number of seats available for both the NLCS and the World Series.
Cool.
11,000 seats.
What's that, 11,000?
Yeah.
Yep. Good. There you go.
Hey,
I think about 600 of them are going into the skyboxes.
yeah.
And where are the games being played?
Arlington.
Texas, the new stadium.
Yeah.
And both LCS are there too?
No,
The one is in Houston, the Braves, and right now the Braves and
No, but I mean
the
next round.
next round, yeah.
One's at Petco.
What's in
San
Petco and the
Diego,
other one's in
American League, I think, and the National League is going to be in the
Arlington.
new Arlington.
Yeah. And that I don't like. I'd rather them play in the stadiums at the arenas, the ball fields where they're supposed to be played.
Well, this year I don't think it's
neutral ground.
I guess
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, right, and it lets them play without a travel day, which lets you squeeze more games into a shorter span of time. So it makes sense, and that's one of the justifications for having more teams in the postseason, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And
it
works
rolling.
well in that sense. I like it without the travel day. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I think it's great to have that kind of tight Consistency.
And it makes you have a more realistic to the regular season. You know, you need 3 or 4 starters. You can't get by. You know, at least 4 starters. You can't get by with 2 or 3.
Right. Yep, exactly.
The Braves and the Marlins are going back to Miami, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
No.
the Marlins will be the home team tomorrow, but yeah.
Oh, it's all in Atlanta?
No,
Yeah.
all in Houston.
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 Yeah.
Arlington.
No, Houston.
No, Houston. Arlington's the
Houston.
Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah, that sucks.
Right.
You know, I've been listening to the Braves on the radio a little bit, and they're actually selling seats at the Braves Stadium for parties, for suites, and, you know, seats in the stadium to watch in the Braves
Really?
Stadium with the board on. Who's going to spend all that money to watch a scoreboard? But evidently people are doing it.
Yeah, well,
They've been advertising.
Well, did you see the first round when the Braves were winning and they were showing the crowds all out in that little green, that concert area right outside the stadium?
Yep.
You know, they were packing them in outside that downtown area.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think they're
the battery was full, man. That was crowded with fans.
Yeah, I know they're selling little pods you can buy in the outfield too. That you can. No, they're going to put it up on the big jumbotron. So you actually get like a seat in the outfield. No chairs or anything. It's like blankets, and you get like a little inflatable pod or something you get to sit in with your family. But
It's what the Miami Dolphins did that during when the COVID was big and they were letting people in. They did movies at the stadium.
Okay.
And so people could come and they had their own little space on the field.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Well, I did hear them also advertise on that show today. I listened to it too, Judge. That if you wanted to go to the All-Star game next year, you had to buy like these super duper tickets. You know, to go to the All-Star game and the home run derby, because it's going to be, I guess, in Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see how each organization handles that whole ticket renewal matter, not being able to plan really for what's going to happen next year and how things are going to be run. They claim that tickets are a major part of their revenue. So how are they going to try and sell that to season ticket holders, new fans, to whomever? The Braves have that hook where they can try and sell this All-Star game and festivities, but other teams are going to have more of a difficulty. There's going to be that same kind of hook.
Yeah.
And just see what that develops into. Chuck, did you want to, if I make you host for a second, did you want to predict the current standings of our predictions?
Yes, I would. I'll go to it. That Brent and Lori are the maximum that they can get is 19 points. They currently each sit at 8 points. That's 19 points maximum that Brent and Lori. In second place is Matt and Glenn.
Hey, don't laugh. It's not that funny.
Okay. Matt and Glenn 1 point down at 18 points. And then we have Art at 17 points. Now, what's nice is up until the start of this week, we could have had a tie, but now the way the folks have selected the AL and NL champs and the World Series champs, there won't be a tie. So whomever wins the prediction is going to win the prediction. There won't be a shared trophy.
Aha, okay, no ties, no split trophies, no nothing. Winner takes all.
Right. Now that's if the teams, because I've scratched off the games or the AL champ and the NL champ of our group who, as an example, Fred, who picked Minnesota and the Nats, both are gone. So his post, if you want to call it, picks are gone. Yeah. Whereas we have Art, Brent, Matt, Jeff Lixon, Kent, Glenn, myself, Lori, and the judge, all of their picks are still open. None scratched off. So it's going to be, it looks as though it's going to be after the LCS is over to find out who has a shot, and it may be a race between the two, whether it's somebody picked Dodgers, Astros, Braves, or the Yankees. And that's about the pick.
Nobody picked Oakland or San Diego?
The random selection that I did for Rick Swain picked San Diego. That was computer generated.
Okay.
Good going, Rick.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Better than I usually do.
He also picked the Angels for the AL champ.
Aha, there we go.
2 injuries away.
That's karma. That's baseball karma for you. There you go.
That's more Rick.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's more in keeping. All right.
All right. Oakland won.
Oakland won? Okay. Gotcha.
I would say that Rick is a historian, not a futurist.
Thank you.
Yes. He has perspective in hindsight.
Right.
Agreed.
The other stuff doesn't matter. Right, Rick?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll change.
That's right.
All right. Hey, Chuck, you wanna make me a host there again, and we can get on to.
Oh, sure. What I wanted to bring up first,
if you're going to show, go ahead.
what I want to bring up first is that 4 of the 8 NL postseason seeds came from the Central, and none advanced. 3 of the 8 in the AL Central, and none advanced. So it was, except for Toronto, it was number 1, number 2, East and West in both leagues that advanced.
Yep. Yeah, the Central came off looking a little shabby there after the first round. The Centrals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the skulls mounted on the wall behind Chuck there for their evidence.
Well, that's sort of why I'd push for the 3 Cy Youngs, 3 MVPs, and because the guy from Cleveland's going to rack up Cy Young, and he never faced anybody in the East or West.
Right.
So.
And we saw what happened when he did face somebody from the East.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in the showers pretty quick. So, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I had not heard that idea before. I don't know if that's made the rounds, or Jim, if that is your thought entirely, but I like it. I think that's interesting. You're going to do it at any point. This is the year to do it, and to have it split 3 ways if you want, or 3 awards or whatever. Interesting thought, at least for kind of a discussion topic.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yes, sir.
You want to go to Beyond the Box Score, hand out the article?
Yeah, go ahead. You're still host, so if you want to, got anything you want to project as a visual aid in concert with it.
All hands have the, I sent that out to everyone. This is produced each week by SABR member Bill Arnold. He's been a member since '94. And all you need to do is email him and ask him to get your weekly. It comes out on Friday. And he's known as SABR's oddball stat collector. If you want to know an oddball stat, one of the ones that I want to kick off with, is we were talking about the Cy Young and whatnot, is the MVP. There's an item here on the second page that if Freeman of the Braves and Abreu of the White Sox both win the MVP awards, it will be the first time, or the third time that 2 first basemen, one from each league, won the award. That would be Frank Thomas and Bagwell in '94, and Morneau and Ryan Howard in 2006. However, I'd like to add something. Does anyone know who the first pairings, going back for the 88 years of the MVP years, that both leagues selected by POZ like, you know, outfielder, both selected shortstop, when that occurred? Anyone have a guess? Beginning in MVP 1931. Who was the first?
I think of Jackie Robinson and
So both leagues, same position?
yeah, same position. Yeah. Jackie
Mickey Cochran and Hap Wilson.
No. Nope.
Give us
They were
How about Barrett
slightly
Campanelli?
close. The answer is 1951. Barra and Campanella.
Wait, did
Oh, yeah.
1955. Barra and Campanella.
Wow.
That was twice the catchers. Once there were two pitchers that won. Anybody know that?
Gibson and Koufax.
Yeah, I'll go
That's the same league.
Gibson and McLean.
There it is. 1968. It's the only
Gibson and
time two pitchers. There's been twice there's been third base, twice there's been first base, and 15 times there's been outfield. Second base and shortstop, 0. There's also 2 times that they want to call it cross-league battery, where a catcher in one league and a pitcher in the other league. Twice that happened.
I'm sorry, Chuck, who were the pitchers? McLean and who?
Gibson.
Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's so, what a great series that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1934, Mickey Cochran, AL. Dizzy Dean, St. Louis, NL, pitcher. This is where a catcher and a pitcher.
Yeah.
That came again in 1963.
Fax and Howard.
Howard and
You got it.
Drysdale.
Koufax and Howard.
Yeah,
Koufax.
Ellie and Sandy.
I just thought that, I don't know why he highlighted for first base, since they've already done it twice. But who knows what awards are going to be selected.
But I think the first baseman highlight might have been for Rick. He loves first baseman.
Oh, was that?
I don't know. I'm more for designated hitters.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. That's correct.
Which DH won the MVP?
I hope never.
No, there was one.
Frank Howard.
Frank Howard.
No.
No. It's an outfielder.
Or Ortiz.
No.
Edgar Martinez.
California Angels. Don Baylor.
Down Baylor.
DH.
Oh, yeah.
79. Yeah.
That can be added to Brent's, I want to say, his trivia list. Okay, the second thing I wanted to point out on the sheet was the oddball stats. The Cincinnati Reds this year, who were one of the 8 finalists for the postseason, joined the 1906 White Sox and 2007 Diamondbacks that placed last in their league in batting average, but still earned a spot in the postseason. So there's been 3 teams that made the post and having the worst BA.
What year were the Diamondbacks?
2007.
Did they win the World Series that year?
I can't remember right off the top of my head.
No,
I
I
think it
think
was
we won the
2009.
series in 2000 or 99.
2001. 2001.
2001. Okay.
Yeah, another World Series, the Yankees didn't quite get there. They made it, didn't quite win it.
Thank God.
Well, I opened it up to some folks out there that on their kind of comments on all of these oddball stats, if they had some on that sheet or anything.
I think.
Sam, did you get that sheet?
He's watching the game.
Oh, well, watching the game and engrossed.
Yeah.
Seeing the Yanks get beat. Is that what is watching?
It's still 0. It's still 0-0.
Yeah, Sam, you got the article. Did you not?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought my wasn't coming through. So, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Did you
get the article of Beyond the Box Score? Bill Arnold's article I sent out.
No, I did not get it.
Okay.
But I would love to get it.
Okay, I'll ship it off to you then. It comes every Friday.
Oh, appreciate that.
One of the strange things that it's the second bullet, the third bullet down here. There were 114 7-inning complete games. 114.
Wow.
7-inning complete games this year.
That'll be a record.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think the record before for this was something like 13.
Kind of obliterated it.
Yes.
So,
and those are all rain out games.
Yep.
Yeah. What is the feeling about the 7-inning doubleheader games? Is this like, you think there's any sense that the baseball might adopt that? And then there's the other crazy thing is this, putting the runner at second in the 10th inning. What do you guys think about that?
Both are on the table for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they might do the 7-inning doubleheader. I think that might be either part of the basic agreement negotiations that'll take place between Major League Baseball and the union in the next year or so. I think that one's going to be there. I am curious to see if they adopt the runner to start on second base in extra innings, which would be either the 10th inning or the 8th inning if you adopt 7-inning doubleheader.
Right. Do all the minor leagues do the 7-inning doubleheaders? I know the Florida State League does.
I want to say they do. I'm not certain about AAA, but I want to say from AA on down they do.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course that IA would include the Florida State League. So I think they do. And I think that's one of those ones that would be worth adopting, especially from a scheduling standpoint. Then you can have doubleheaders much more easily.
Mm-hmm.
Players Union has made it pretty clear they don't want doubleheaders of 9 innings each at any point in the season unless it's completely unavoidable. So I like the idea of the 7-inning.
So if there was a rain out and the only practical way to make up the game would be to tack it on and turn a single game into a doubleheader, in that circumstance, you think they'd go 7 innings for those 2 games?
Well, they already did this year.
Yeah, I think there are
COVID games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that would be the understanding, what you just described there, Kent, would be the understanding going forward is they have rain delays in the future, they'd be made up, but as a 7-inning doubleheader, both games being 7 innings, you just tack it on, like you said, to the end of the first one.
It's okay by me.
Yeah, I kind of like it myself.
Well, by the way, out of the head-to-head sheets that I sent you folks each week, if you were to add up the opposite league wins, you'll see that in 24 years of interleague play, there was a tie, 149 wins each. 149 wins AL against the NL and 149 wins NL against the AL. That is by the experts over at Fangraphs, they predict that being the case, and since the AL has sucked over the years, that it will be the turn for the AL to win the World Series. I don't know how they come about that.
I'd like to know their rationale behind that.
Yeah.
I think the stat on the oddball stats here that I've been intrigued by and been kind of keeping track of here are players who make their debut in the playoffs, their major league debut in the playoffs. Where they mentioned
before, right?
Yeah, Alex Kirilloff, and then of course Mondesi and Kiger in past years, within the last 15 years, we'll say. But Kirilloff was the first this year, and then Shane McClanahan for the Rays the other night, and then last night Ryan Weathers, David Weathers' kid, made his debut. Now, has there been a fourth like today, or are we just the three so far in the postseason?
Three so far are current.
Okay, I think that's an interesting and very telling reflection of the kind of season
that we have one on the roster.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting reflection of where we are with this season. I think that's very, very telling how the teams have leveraged again and again their own top talent, their own farm systems, their own minor leaguers, much more actively, much more thoroughly, shall we say, than in years past. I mean, again, it was Jim who mentioned it as we were all kind of coming into the meeting here tonight that Ian Anderson, who wasn't pitching with the Braves until late in August when they basically lost every starter they were going to have for the entire season. All their entire rotation was just gone. Due to injury or what have you, they had to call on their young talent, which they had a surplus of, a lot of great young pitchers. And look at their rotation now in the playoffs. Here they are: Max Fried, who's got a couple of years under his belt; Ian Anderson, who's a rookie; and Kyle Wright, who's not quite a rookie in the strictest sense, but he's very young. He's only a couple of years out of pitching for Oregon State. So I think that's a fascinating statistic: how many young players have gotten their debut this year, and how many are debuting in the playoffs. And
well, there was one oddball stat that's not here, but it was a week ago. Am I back on?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I clicked my what have you here. My screen went kaflooey. Somebody projected that I got to get my screen back up again. That the average age of the 8 postseason or the 16 postseason teams was a year and a half younger than the record that was held something like 25 years ago. In other words, the average age of all of the teams.
Jeez. Interesting. Expanded rosters and all.
Yep.
Huh. Year and a half younger on average.
Yeah, that's.
Then I look at the things like, Toronto and whatnot, and San Diego and all these ones, and kids ripped from the minors to come up and play. So, but that was just the postseason, all of the 16 teams in the postseason, the average.
Yeah, but they're the ones who qualified. They were presumably the 16 best teams, and that's very telling. And yeah, I find that fascinating. I want to see how in the years to come, no matter how they may revert back to older rules and older approaches and so forth, I want to see how that develops going forward. We are already seeing teams value their young players much more heavily than they used to, and much less likely to trade those guys at the trade deadline to go and get some old veteran benchmark.
Yeah, I agree. I also, it's just anecdotal, but it seems like I don't ever remember so many sons of major leaguers being on big league rosters as there are right now. It just seems like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just my imagination. Again, I don't have any numbers. It just, everywhere you turn, there's somebody's junior or another, kid. For me, as
like 8 of them. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree. That's also a pretty fascinating story. It's I think it is telling a reflection of one's own status in life when one remembers, oh yeah, I saw his dad play.
I saw his dad play.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or he had his grandfather's card.
Yeah, I remember the Blue Jays, their AAA team 2 years ago. It was Biggio, Clemens, Guerrero, and Bichette all making up the infield.
Yep. And then how many of those guys are now with the Blue Jays and made the playoffs? 3 of them.
3 of them, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. I think that's youth will be served.
So Chuck, are you interested in a mistake on this document that was made?
But a mistake, I didn't make it, but yeah.
Oh, no, you didn't make it, but I'm going to rely on you to pass it on.
Okay, what was it?
If you look at the third page, the second line that actually begins right above that says, then the odds for the M's not making the playoffs this year were 1,161. That's not true. Those are the odds for a team not making it for 18 years, which is entirely different from the odds to not make it in the 1 year.
Right.
It's a common statistical error that people make. The odds basically this year for not making it were 7 out of 15.
Right.
They had almost a 50-50 chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 18 years though is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that what Bill puts together, he has about 15 or 20 SABR guys that feed him all these stats, and they do research for as stringers on newspapers and local TV, and send them all of these things, because he does not sit down and look up and create all these stats. He just copies it, sticks in a bullet, assembles it, and pumps it out to your email each week, which I find over the years when I had my website, I used his stats whenever it involved the catcher. I used his stats as trivia kinds of things, or fun fact of the week, or well, whatever it is. And I wouldn't have time to go check all these things and hunt things down and whatnot.
Well, for my interest, this is like the perfect thing. I love statistics. I love the oddball, unusual statistics. So I'm going to start tracking this down every week.
Yeah. This is definitely worth a read every week to show up in your inbox on a Friday.
Yeah. And it comes in about the same time that the SABR Weekly comes in.
Okay.
Bill's out at Menlo Park, California, so I guess he sleeps in late or whatnot. Who knows? To our time. Well, that's all I have, unless somebody else has something of this oddball stat they'd like to see.
Anyone else with any observations or thoughts on the matter? All right, cool. Thank you, Chuck. Much appreciated for taking us through that. This is a very interesting newsletter. I think, as Roger said, this will be worth signing up for and getting every Friday afternoon.
Yeah. And cool. It's free. It's free.
Hey, even better. There you go. There you go. Price is right. Cool. All right, sir. If you can make me host again, I'll get us set up for our cleanup hitter here.
You are host.
I am host. Oh, I still show you as host, actually.
Well, I didn't click on anything.
No, I made you host.
Oh.
Yeah. I made you host thinking you were going to share some docs. I mean, your spreadsheets.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to. I send out enough crap to you guys each week as it is.
It's not crap, Chuck. It's good, great stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I appreciate it. So it's a nice distraction from that aforementioned job that I have.
Anything a catcher does is phenomenal. That's why, even though I hate the Yankees, I loved Yogi.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to do something?
No, just see if you can, if you get down at the bottom of the toolbar there in Zoom, go ahead and if you would just shift the host responsibility, the host powers back to me.
I see. Security, participants, chat, share screen.
Yeah, participants. Go ahead and click on participants there. And you should be able to designate someone, make somebody a host. You can make me the host there. Click on, yeah, hover over the participants icon there and then click on it.
Said invite, Alt-1.
And if you click on the participants icon there, it should launch and show you a list of the participants. And you should be able to see that you're listed as the host in parentheses there.
I'm going down here. Yeah, host. Okay, now we're going to click on you as host.
Yep, make me host.
Here, make host. You showing up as host?
Not yet.
Do you want to change the host?
Red light flag.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, there. Now you got it.
Yep. No, got it. All right. Here we go. Haha, now you'll regret that decision. All right. Let me go ahead and share screen, and we will go ahead and get Roger's presentation, part 2, going here. All right, everybody able to see the title page of the slide presentation there?
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Roger.
Well, not yet for me. It says has started screen sharing, and it's like
there we go. Now I got it.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, it can take a moment sometimes.
You ready for me to go, Matt?
Absolutely, sir. Floor is yours.
Okay. We'll do the same thing when I need a change in the slide. I'll let you know.
Excellent.
Those of you that were so incredibly attentive last time might recall that we broke this into 2 segments. And between 1920 and 1950, there's approximately 500 different types of baseball cards, loosely defined, that were distributed. And that includes things like the premiums that you could get with them, the tops of ice cream cups, but things very similar to baseball cards. Approximately 500 different types in that 30-year period. We're going to go through about 25 of them, and we'll start with the next slide, Matt. Hey, exhibit cards ran for over 40 years. They're postcard size, usually blank back, but in the later years, 62, 63, they put the player statistics on the back. They were sold like postcards, and over that period, 500 or 600 different players appeared, frequently the same photograph, but they did change the look every year. They'd colorize the background, they'd colorize the player, they'd put a little border on it. But this was extremely long running, 40 plus years of these, and you typically got them in 5s and dimes and other similar stores or places that you'd pick up postcards. They were not postcards, they're postcard size. Okay, the second slide, Matt. Strip cards, designation W by Jefferson Burdick. Strip cards come in all sorts of varieties. They're small, as you can see, 1.5 by 2 1/4, thereabouts. They would change in size. Sold in a whole different variety of ways by businesses typically, sometimes in little vending machines, where that's originally they got the strip, they'd come out 1 at a time or 2 at a time, and people would cut them. They're not all done that way. Sometimes they're individual cards. This particular series lasted 3 or 4 years, and all they did was reverse the images, add numbers to them, colorized the background. This is one type. Anybody alert to something really wrong with this, with the picture here?
Looks like he's left-handed.
Left-handed
Yeah.
Walter Johnson, huh?
Like, forget it.
That was their cheap way of creating a different series. They just reversed the negatives.
Yeah. He's-
And that's why you see the 2-2. This was second in the series, and then in the 2 designated, and they just flipped it. Kind of bizarre, but that's why I put it in here. You got a left-handed Walter Johnson.
It's hard to even recognize him as Walter Johnson.
No, hardly.
The face.
They're pen and ink drawings typically. Most strip cards are like this. Some of them are worse than this. Some of them a little better. One fascinating, he's my favorite all-time pitcher.
Me too.
One of my favorite things is at the age of 36, he won pitching's Triple Crown. At the age of 36. Okay, next slide, please, Matt.
110 shutouts too.
Yeah. And on my self-made statistic, evaluating winning percentage with a team when you weren't pitching versus when you were, he's by far the greatest pitcher of all time in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, his teams went to the World Series a couple times, but by and large, he was playing with awful teams and still racked up a real good winning percentage. National Caramel candy cards. We're getting kind of the end. Those of you might remember last time, lots of candy cards and tobacco cards up to 1920. The caramel cards started to go away. This is a little bit unusual and it's bigger than most of them. Always had advertising on the back. This particular series had 120 different players in it. Was included in their candy products, primarily caramel, and the cards came that way. Candy, if we first started with tobacco cards in the 19th century, moved to caramel and candy cards, tobacco, and this was kind of getting towards the end of cards coming out with candy.
So Roger, with the candy, like the caramels, obviously sticky.
Yeah.
Would they be wrapped or the card wrapped or both? Do you know?
I'm not sure on this series. It's usually it came in a sleeve that carried 4 or 5, 6 of the candies with the card, and that's why so many of the caramel cards do have problems with residue and whatnot. This series, I'm not sure exactly how it came.
Okay.
Okay, Matt, next slide, please. Fleer, if you collected, I did not, well, I did a little bit. In the 80s and 90s, you'll recognize Fleer. They were the, gum did not come with this. It's a strip card. It was an advertising card. Fleer was the first company to manufacture bubble gum that you could blow bubbles with. They produced this strip card for 1 year. Fleer made an appearance again in 1960, I believe. Rick would correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then then they came back in the 80s and 90s. They also produced a number of years of football cards in the 60s. They also had 1959, a Ted Williams series, Fleer, but this was their first card. It was an advertising card that came with some of their candy. This guy one time had 708 plate appearances and got some MVP votes a couple times. Okay, Matt, next slide, please. The sporting news, most of you, I assume, are familiar with it. Starting in 1899 and running for many years, they started putting supplements, paper supplements. You can see the size of it. This was kind of a thin, kind of fragile paper. They did this for many years. This is one particular year I picked out because I have it. There were only 11 players in this particular series, 6 of them Hall of Famers. Harry Rice, the least known, thus the cheapest to collect. He did, on 3 different occasions, get some MVP votes. But Sporting News, not a card, but to the people that keep track and run the catalogs, it's considered a type card, but it's actually a sheet of paper inserted in the weekly Sporting News. Okay, Matt, next slide. Of course, if you got any questions, interrupt me.
I guess I did have one question about the Sporting News. Were these pictures, the like portrait of Harry Rice here that was taken, you know if these were Charles Conlon's?
I don't in this case. You know, he was the dominant photographer of this area. We're going to come up on several series where he did take almost all the photographs, but I'm not sure it was Sporting News. Don't know the authorship.
Gotcha.
Okay, next slide, Matt. So Frojoy, 1 week, is a dairy product, an ice cream product, produced a series of 6 cards in 1928. And if you collected all the cards and you got them from grocery stores, they had a ceremony a week long devoted to their ice cream. You could send in the 6 individual cards and get an autographed Babe Ruth photo. I got this uncut set at a little antique shop in St. Augustine that wasn't a baseball card shop, and just happened to see it among a bunch of stuff. And it certainly is on old looking paper and very beat up, etc. I forget what I paid for it, but it's Babe Ruth, probably $25 or $30. And since learned that at the time, these sheets were counterfeited, and counterfeits are common. And I don't know if Glenn's here yet, but you know, he mentioned PSA, and some of you are familiar with the grading service. To the extent that PSA will not grade these, whether they're cut out, the individual cards, or the full sheets, because the counterfeiting took place right at the time that these were produced. One of my favorite things with Babe Ruth was he won an ERA title and a batting title. And of course, nobody else can say that, among other things with the Babe.
Right.
Yeah, 2.28 lifetime ERA, by the way, for those folks that don't consider him the greatest player of all time. Okay, next slide, Matt, please. Goudies. These are primarily, but not exclusively, Charles Conlon photographs that were colorized, tan tinted. And there's a number of collectors that feel the Gaudi series went from 33 to 41, that these are the creme de la creme to a number of collectors because of their look, the era. They were extremely popular at the time. They're fairly easy to find. Well, when I was collecting, which was 1980 to 90, when I was collecting type cards, these were fairly easy to find. In this particular year, about 1/4 of them are Hall of Famers. That makes them attractive. The player bio on the reverse makes them attractive. And this was the first series, I believe, and Rick may know better, where a gum company was kind of floundering, Depression era, and the founder of the company decided, I've got to do something different. And in 32, the year before this, they had $335,000 worth of sales of their gum. He spent $50,000 on cardboard and having these cards printed for 1933, marketed to kids, and the revenues went from 335 to 1.4 million. And this is the year that authored in or brought in the idea of selling gum with baseball cards. This was the time that began, and began in earnest for a number of years. Herb Pennock kind of makes some of those lists about people that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, considered kind of a borderline Hall of Famer. Never won one of the, never led the league in anything of significance, I believe, kind of recalling there. Next slide, please, Matt. So in 34, this is what the wrapper looked like. It was honoring Lou Gehrig. By the way, you got a card and a piece of gum for a penny in this wrapper. This particular year, if you sent in 50 of these wrappers, you could get a very large, it's probably 7x9 premium photograph. And I know Babe Ruth was included. I think maybe the 1933 pennant winners were also included. You had an option. So you'd send in 50 of these wrappers. But again, the year before, the first time the gum and a baseball card was sold together. Next slide, please, Matt. Gowdy popularized the color card. And later in that year, a couple of other companies came out for very short-lived attempts at the color cards. Couldn't compete with Gowdy. This George Miller was one that came out later in the year. Paul Waner, by the way, 3-time batting titles, among other things. MVP award as well. This was a regional issue, I believe up in the Pittsburgh area primarily. Okay, next slide, Matt. This was another one-year gum company, DeLong, kind of an Art Deco style. It's the rarest and most difficult to find. There were only 24 cards. They had player tips rather than a biography on the back. Black and white photos. I don't know if they're Charles Conlon photos, but set on the art background was the attractiveness to some people. But again, the rarest. It was a one-year operation. But this started the trend towards color baseball cards with the Gowdies.
Roger, just a comment on Paul Waner.
Sure.
His brother, Lloyd, they were the second brothers to admitted to the Hall of Fame. And he was Big Poison, and
Little Poison.
Lloyd's nickname was?
Yeah.
Little Poison.
Little Poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, I believe, Waner got MVP votes like 7 or 8 years in a row. Charlie Gehringer got MVP votes 10 years in a row, including winning a batting title, and I think the MVP the same year at age like 34 or 35. Okay, next slide, Matt, please. I put this in because it's very different in that if you look on the right-hand side carefully, you can see kind of an outline, almost a perforation. And yeah, Matt's identifying it for you. The reason they're called batter-ups, again, it was a one-time deal. You folded that part down, and the player, the top half of the card was the player, and the bottom half kind of formed as a base. So this reverse side you're looking at, that top half you pulled back towards you, and you had a little stand-up kind of thing, and it was called batter up for that reason. They're almost, this was National Chickle Company that put these out. You're probably familiar with chiclets.
Yeah.
They're more known for their premium, that you sent in wrappers, I don't know how many, and could get their premium, which I think is next. So next slide, Matt. Yeah, there's only 6 players, but these were the batter-up premiums. You can see from the size they were bigger, considered very high quality photographic images. The players were including Jimmy Farrell and Wes Farrell, Jimmy Fox, Joe Vosmick, Lloyd Waner again. These are pretty rare, difficult to find in good condition. They're kind of on a modestly thick paper. Pepper Martin Gas House Gang, 4-time All-Star, 3-time stolen base leader.
Yep.
He once went, I like unusual statistics. He once went, and I don't know if this is the record, but he played full-time as a player, went the entire year, he grounded into 1 double play.
Wow.
You know, I should look that up because that's the kind of records I like to know. But yeah, 1 double play for the entire year as a regular.
Pepper has a Miami connection too. He managed 3 minor league teams: the Miami Sun Sox, the Miami Beach Flamingos, and later the Miami Marlins AAA.
Wow.
Yeah, Sam, what years was he with the Marlins? Overlapping Satchel Paige by any chance?
No, he was there. I think it was the year after, 59.
Okay.
Satchel was there 56 to 58.
Okay.
His nickname, the Wild Horse of the Osage.
Yes. So I'm assuming Arkansas born, maybe.
It's just a nickname.
Okay, next slide, please, Matt. So my personal favorite from this era are Diamond Stars. They came out for 3 years. I just like the Art Deco look. I've tried to collect a lot of them. What's interesting about these 3 years, it was the same players every year with the backs changed, or if the player was sent to the minors or retired, they changed. So it's 108 cards over the 3 years, but because of retirements, team changes, they would change the player in jersey, 170 front and back combinations. Not sure why this is not more popular. It just happens to be one that I like. It's a photograph silk screen process. There's another picture that gets on some of those lists about people that should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, kind of borderline. And I don't know enough about the Hall of Fame history to know under what circumstances he got in. Okay, next one, Matt. Oh, probably one of my all-time favorite Goudies, called the 4-in-1. Came out in 35, as you see. What was unique about this was they put 4 players on a card, more often than not, all from the same team. These are all Boston Braves. But the back of the card was a piece of a puzzle. And you needed 8 of the cards to make up the puzzle. And there are 36 different fronts of cards, but 114 different fronts with different backs. It's almost an impossibility for somebody that wants to try to get all of these. It's unusual, but the backs, there were 9 different puzzles, 3 teams, the Tigers, Indians, and Senators, their team photos, and then individual players, Chuck Klein, which is where this one was leading to, Frankie Frisch, Mickey Cochran, Joe Cronin, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, were the puzzle pieces.
Hall of Famers there.
Pardon me?
A few Hall of Famers there.
Yes, yeah, heavy emphasis on Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth is in this set with a number of Yankees. I've always enjoyed this. It's not wildly popular at the time, just very different. That exhibit company, which I think was the first slide, at least once, maybe a couple times, produced 4-in-1s, where they put 4 players on that postcard type thing. Gowdy, to the best of my knowledge, only other one to do this. 3 of these 4 players at different times got MVP votes. Everybody but Moore. Okay, next slide, Matt. So Wheaties got into the business in 35, and they went to 41, producing cutouts on the back of their boxes, and then came back in 51 and 52 on the little small single serving boxes. They came out with some players that were there, but this was the first year. Goslin was there was 27 different players featured, including fictional Jack Armstrong was one. And this started the popularity of including sports figures associated with Wheaties. This was the first year they did it in any way. Goslin, batting champ title one time, 6 times got MVP votes, Hall of Famer, as you can see. Sometimes called the Fancy Frame Series. It's the first one, had this kind of unusual frame around it. Okay, Matt? This is more typical of those years, and they now are coming out usually with 2 or 3 different series during the year with different players. This particular series was called How to Star in Baseball and had tips on the back. And Hubble is correctly shown as a left-handed pitcher. I've done my own analysis of lefty pitchers. So Hubble, for a long time, was probably considered the premier lefty pitcher. Spahn came along, and then Koufax, etc., Steve Carlton. Carl and Warren Spahn, screwball pitchers with very, very similar career records, but Spahny lasted longer. 6 times getting MVP votes, led the league in ERA 3 times, led the league in wins 3 times. And of course, the 34 All-Star game for you Yankee fans. Ruth, so who were they? Ruth, Fox, Gehrig,
Simmons.
Who else?
There was 4. I thought there was.
No, 5.
5.
Struck out 5 in a row, and
Fox?
somebody else.
No.
Yeah,
It was
Ruth, Gehrig,
Cronin.
Fox, and Simmons, all Hall of Famers. Somebody else I don't recall.
Joe
I'm having
Cronin.
There we go. Rick's got it. Joe Cronin.
Cronin. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next slide, please, Matt. Unusual premium series. Dixie Lid produced ice cream in little cups. I know I used to, in the 50s, get little cups of ice cream. I don't know if it was Dixie ice cream. But the lids, for several years, had baseball players on the inside. You could send in some of the lids and get these premiums. And they also, you could buy a little notebook. You can see the 2-hole punch. That's not me. That was with the premium. This year, the premiums were Bob Feller, Jimmy Fox, Carl Hubble, and Wally Moses. And they provided the instructional information on the back. So it's considered a type card, although it's a paper product. It comes from Dixie Lid premiums, Dixie Lids, which were circular, which are considered a type card. I didn't include those. I wasn't sure how easy it would be for Matt to set up a circular item, so I stayed away from that. But what's more famous are the several years of the Dixie Lids, which were circular, the little tops on the ice cream cups.
Roger?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking back on those days. Did the ice cream come with the little wood spoons? Do you remember that?
Well, as a kid, it did. I don't know whether it was Dixie Lid. Yes, you got handed.
Okay.
Would get handed the wooden spoon, the miniature spoon. Yeah.
That was classic.
You're dating yourself, Sam. I'll tell you.
I know.
Because I'm thinking that was early to mid 50s. I think the wooden spoons. At least that's what I'm remembering. Okay, next slide, please, Matt. I put this in here. It was a 1-year try with gum product. There were 75 of theirs. It's called double play gum. So double play, they put in 2 players. They're blank backs. It lasted for a year. You got 2 of these cards for a penny with your piece of gum in a wrapper. Augie there was a 3-time All-Star and 5 times got MVP votes. Okay, next slide, Matt.
Who the heck was it?
Play ball, eventually taken over by Bowman, who most of you might be familiar, remembering from Glenn or from your childhood. Play ball cards lasted 3 years, I believe, usually black and white. This was their color attempt. First ones after, they were the first to come up with cards after the war. Or during the war, and I'm sorry I'm off on that. Only 72 cards, kind of an Art Deco look. This is the reason this series is famous to Yankee fans and perhaps Red Sox fans. It's the only type of baseball card that had all three of the DiMaggio brothers in the series. So some people collect it for that reason. That collectors that are interested in brothers, Kent mentioned all the father-sons kind of thing. There are collectors that collect all father-son combinations, collect brother combinations. This is the popular one for the DiMaggios because it's the only series all three are in. Okay, next slide.
You talk about a questionable Hall of Famer too. Yankee credentials is all he had.
Yep. Okay. Rick, does he make some of the list of questionable Hall of Famers?
He makes mine.
That's the one that counts.
That's the one that counts. I'm with you. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. So Jackie Robinson, Bond Bread. You know, who could I equate them to? They were a major bread manufacturer in that era. And they came out with a series of cards that covered a couple of years, but they first produced in Jackie Robinson's first year. And they were given out at grocery stores essentially, or places that sold Bond Bread. This one, unfortunately, the market stamped their name on the front. It's the only card that has a bio of Jackie Robinson on the back. And, but again, this is his rookie year. People don't consider it his rookie card. It's kind of an oddball set, but there were 13 different cards. All the rest are kind of in action poses or show him standing there. This is the only portrait one. Okay, next slide, please. Back to what's a rookie card, which I think we talked about last time or when Glenn was making his presentation. This is among card collectors considered Stan Musial's rookie card, although Bond Bread also put out a series of just baseball players cards in 47. They're thin and kind of paper. They're not the traditional card. It's considered his rookie card. And again, you know, Leaf appeared later on for you all, 59 and 60, and then into the 80s. Just so you all know, at age 41, he batted .330 as a regular. He had a couple of years there, 255, 275. I kept wanting him to retire, and he came back and hit .330 and then retired. My favorite player. Okay, next slide, Matt. So Bowman got into the business in 1948 and through 55. They produced black and white and color. This is one of their least popular ones. It's almost a square size. They're colored photographs. It was their first color image. They didn't initially follow Gaudy in the color thing. They came out with black and white in the early years. There are 53s, which would be for another presentation. To some people are the most beautiful cards of all time, 53 Bowman color, not these. This is their first color card. I follow catchers. until I got this card. I had not heard of Mr. Massey. He twice got MVP votes. He's a 4-time All-Star. Had a very good, nice career.
Who did he play for, Roger?
Boston Braves, I believe, but maybe the Red Sox.
White Sox, I believe.
Red Sox? Okay.
White Sox.
White Sox, really?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the white and the blue there. That's all I'm seeing.
Yeah, well, it says White Sox on the back there in the pictured card.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, not real prominent, but it does.
Yeah, but it also says Boston Braves the year before. So
I think he was the primary catcher on the 48 Braves that went to the World Series.
Yeah, the team
The
that
only
lost
be-
to the Indians. I think he was.
I was saying Braves only because I'm a Braves fan. But yeah, the card is obvious, I assume, correct in that regard. Okay, next and last slide. So I put this in here. This was unusual. This was late to strip cards. There was 120 different players presented on cards that were 13 strips long. They were
You had to
sold
stick Nippy Jones in there, didn't you?
Pardon me?
You had to stick Nippy Jones in there.
Oh, that's right. Hey, Jim, yeah.
Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? That's the only thing I know.
His shoe polish is.
So Jim, you know, I had a different last slide, but after your comment about Nippy Jones, Matt insisted that I find something with Nippy Jones in it. So here you go. You're not going to see what's unusual here. It was contemporary players plus some old timers. This was sold in a variety of ways. They were folded up. If you look down at the bottom, you can see there's kind of some perforations. They were folded and sold in gumball machines and those little circular plastic things.
Oh, yeah.
They were sold in strips by grocery stores. They've kind of got an unknown history about them. I ran across it because I would typically, in my days of collecting, would say, do you have any unusual museals? And one time the guy presented this, and that's where I learned about it. So that's the last one from the 50s. You have noticed, or I've been trying to point out, these different letter designations, as you'll see there right above the strip, the third line above where it says R423. Those all came from a guy named Jefferson Burdick, who spent a lifetime, he was kind of a reclusive iconoclast, collecting cards and other kinds of things for most of his life, to the extent that he approached the Met in New York with his collection, and they said they were fascinated with it, but he needed to organize it. And it took him 4 or 5 years, 300,000 cards, only about 1/10 of them baseball. And he was the one that in organizing them assigned these letters like T for tobacco, R for gum, W for strip cards, E for candy, etc. And you can see his multi-million-dollar collection, which he donated to the Metropolitan Museum. And anyone can make, you have to make an appointment. I have not seen it. I was going to see it this October, had the appointment, but COVID interfered. We were going to travel to New York. We've got some friends over for my wife's birthday. But you can make an appointment, and he's got the Hannes Wagner T206, and it is sorted so that you can look at just the baseball cards you want. So if you want to go look at 30,000 baseball cards and see every type conceivable, that's the place to go. So I thought I'd pass that on to you. If you ever had that interest or were in New York, you do have to call in advance or contact them well in advance to make an appointment, and you can see them. And that wraps it up. That wraps it up, Matt.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Raj.
Good job.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
That was great.
Very good.
By the way, I looked up Nippy Jones. I got him. He played for St. Louis and the Cardinals from 46 to 51. I just like, are you kidding me? His average was 263, batting average. Never heard of him.
Forgot about his Braves year.
Braves year 57.
Yeah.
As an update, at the bottom of the third, Tampa Bay won. The Yankees won. Yankees still up to bat.
They got a bases
Yankees
loaded right
scored.
now.
Go Rays.
Go Rays.
Go Rays.
Oakland won 9-7.
Play for another day. All right. Any follow-up questions or comments for Roger on his presentation there, either or last?
Terrific, Roger.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this or not. That's for the Yankee fans. That's the 57 team picture.
Nice.
I don't know if he's in there. I think he is. I'll have to look.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Got the 60 Yankees that lost to the Pirates by chance?
I don't.
Fred, I have the 60 Pirates photo on my wall,
All right. I love it.
along with a pennant. Reproduction, but it's a pennant from the 60 season.
That's really cool.
I'll have to share it with you one day.
Oh, fantastic, Sam. I love it.
All right. Well, anyone have anything else for the good of the order? Anything else for the group here? Or are we hot to trot to go check out the Rays beating the Yankees here?
I'm glad we're all in agreement on that we're all rooting for the Braves or the Rays.
Yeah, some of us are.
I think you might say there's a majority. There's a plurality of us. I think that's fair.
Where's Glenn when we need him?
Yeah.
Watching the game.
Watching the game. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
The
ducking
Marlins
us.
may be toast.
We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic that Sixto can do it. Can at least buy us one.
I'm getting a little uncomfortable with us beating up on the Yankees because we outnumber the folks here. So I'll volunteer when COVID is over to the 3 or 4 of you, and Glenn's not here, Yankee people. I will appear at a lunch, and you can talk all about the 58 World Series you want to, and I'll just eat crow.
What a man.
To be fair, we are in the deep South. We're not supposed to like the Yankees down here.
Roger, were you like 6 years old at that time? I mean, come on.
No, I'm 74. That was my peak. I became a Braves fan because I was waiting for somebody to beat the Yankees, and that's how I became a Braves fan.
Okay.
Fred, there's someone here that wants to say hi to you.
Oh, hey, is that Mazeroski? Who's that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, the Maz.
That's
Oh, gosh. My favorite player. Well, no. Clemente and him were the 2 favorite Pirates. I don't know if I told you this, Sam, but I went to his house. Myself and 3 other boys drove our bicycles to Bill Mazeroski's house, knocked on his door. His wife came out. He said, "Is Mr. Mazeroski there?" He came out. He was so nice. She was the most beautiful woman we ever seen in our lives. We just thought she was just gorgeous. And
what a great story.
he signed a glove for me. And when we moved to Miami in 1962, that and all my baseball card collection and my family's photographs, I was only 12, were lost in the movie.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Just
no.
disgusting. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so one little piece of trivia that Fred obviously knows the answer to. So Maz is big hero, but they wouldn't have been in that situation except for a catcher. So who was the catcher that hit the dramatic home run that got him to the point that Maz could win?
Crandall.
No,
No,
for the
Pirates.
Pirates.
For the Pirates.
Al Smith.
Al Smith.
That's right, Hal Smith. Why was
Hal
I saying
Smith.
Bill Crandall? I'm sorry, Hal Smith.
And there was a Hal R. Smith and a Hal W. Smith at the time, and I forget which one it was.
Okay. And Burgess was their everyday catcher.
Yeah, and a great pinch hitter. He
Yes,
still
he
holds.
was. Great pinch hitter. Yeah, Smokey Burgess. Shake, rattle, and roll was his nickname. I like nicknames. I don't know why. Yeah.
So something I discovered recently, actually at like an antique store, I was digging through the records and I found an old album by none other than Denny McLain on the organ.
Oh.
I didn't know this, but apparently he was a very accomplished organ player.
Yes.
Put out some records.
Yes, he did, and he was quite well known as a lounge act in the Metro Detroit area, doing the keyboard, piano kind of lounge thing when he wasn't pitching, whether it was in the off season or even during the season, sometimes in between starts. That might be how he spends an evening after an afternoon game or something like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is fascinating.
That's
great. Denny has he's got a fascinating story. Put it that way. He's if you want an interesting biography, you could look his up and you could see just what kind of checkered history he's had in and out of baseball.
Does anybody know who his father-in-law was?
Oh shoot, I used to know this. I can't remember.
He was a ball player. I forget. He was player manager, wasn't he?
Yeah, Boudreaux.
Yeah,
Lou
Boudreaux. Yeah.
Lou Boudreaux. Okay.
Yeah. Dear old Denny. He's still kicking. He's still around. He's one of those 68 Tigers who's still around.
Is he free?
But yeah, he is out. He is no longer incarcerated. He's out. He has been out for several years, and once again claims to be reformed and no longer
still scheming.
What's that?
Still scheming.
He claims not to be. He claims to have reformed his ways, and he's no longer. Well, I don't think he owns a company, first of all, which is a good thing. So he can't pilfer the retirement funds or, forget to pay. I don't know, payroll taxes or what have you.
Man, I'm surprised. I thought he died years ago. I don't know why. Like Ben McClain, didn't he?
Probably some Tiger fans who wish that was the case.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah.
Because Olin is no longer with us, though.
Yeah, we've lost some greats recently.
Yeah.
Been very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob Gibson was just 3 days ago, I think, 4 days ago.
I know, yeah.
Yep.
That's
Lou Brock and then Tom Seaver and of course Al Kaline earlier in the year. It's been a hard year for Hall of Famers, for legends.
Yeah.
The Cardinals Nation especially, losing both Lou Brock and Bob Gibson. That's a
big.
Yeah.
Did you read Hank Aaron's quote about Bob Gibson? I don't know if you saw that in the obituary, but he said he was. I don't remember who he was talking to. He's advising him when he faced Gibson. He said, "Don't look at him. Don't dig in. Don't talk to him. Don't even acknowledge him. He will take your head off."
Yeah.
He was one of the greatest hitters of all time. Said, "Don't mess with Bob Gibson."
Might have been Dusty Baker. He was telling that too.
It could, it might have been, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Dusty Baker got hit a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great quote by Aaron.
Yeah.
I never knew that until the obituary came out.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And Bob Gibson did not, because of Musial Cardinal connection, when I would track down live interviews with Bob Gibson, the guy did not soften up with age. He did not. I mean, he was just dead serious, doesn't crack a smile.
Yes.
It's like he beat the crap out of you in an alley right now, just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yep. He was the epitome of tough.
Yeah.
Epitome of a competitor.
They
He would
lowered
not
the
give
mound
in.
because of him.
Yeah.
That's pretty right there. He should be in the Hall of Fame for nothing else.
Yeah, the impact he had on the game.
Yep. Cool.
And he was a Harlem Globetrotter.
Yes.
He was.
Yep. He
I
gave
can't
up basketball
believe
to
he was around, though.
focus on baseball. Yeah, he was a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
Athlete.
Yep.
And he had really bad eyesight. That stare he'd give you from the mound was because he was squinting in to try and see McCarver's signs.
Yeah. Don't think that was just cover.
No. The man was straining. It's like, wait, was that 2 fingers? Was it 3? Oh hell, I'm just gonna throw it inside.
Hindsight.
Are you saying he needed help from another one of my favorite Yankees, Ryan Duran?
Oh God.
Well, why not? Maybe he needed glasses.
I love the quote from Yogi. A guy came up to hit against Ryan Duran, and Yogi's whistling. And the batter looks down and goes, Yogi, what are you whistling for? He says, that's so Duran knows where to throw the ball.
Plus, he was drunk half the time when he was out there.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Really? Oh, geez,
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So who's got an update on the game for me? What's going on?
First and second for Tampa Bay in the top of the fourth. 1-1.
Still 1-1?
Well,
Yeah.
Tanaka's on like his 90th pitch or something, or is he still out there?
yeah, Tanaka's still out there.
Or is Boone gonna do something stupid like pull his starter after the 1 inning so he could think he can fool the other team?
Yeah, that was not right. You know, what did you do to the kid's confidence, too? You're going to need him later on.
Home run, 4-1.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Kevin Kiermaier, 3-run homer.
3-run homer. Yeah. 4-1.
Really?
Is that right? Wow.
Yep.
Oh. That's a surprising source for that.
It is.
This year of the long ball and short review. Kiermaier. Huh. A good sign for the race. Well, gentlemen, with that, we are at the 8:30 mark, a little past actually, and we, with nothing further to discuss, perhaps we call our meeting adjourned and we all retire to watching the Rays finish off the Yankees tonight.
Hey,
Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr.
I
President.
think they finish him off tomorrow. I think it's but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just talking about for the evening. I wasn't making
Oh, okay.
projections beyond this evening.
I'm
All
pretty
right,
sure
gentlemen.
we're all rooting Rays and Braves World Series, right?
I still like an all
For the
Florida
good
series
of, for the
myself,
good
but
of the major leagues, Rays and Braves.
Rays and Braves.
Thank you, Roger and Chuck.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
guys.
Thank you.
Roger and Chuck
Yeah.
especially.
Good job.
Thanks, guys.
Good job.
All righty. Y'all take care. We'll see you next month.
Yep.
All right.
See ya.